Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Red Sift webinar, Stop Downtime Caused by Expiring Certificates. My name is Rachel Gray. I'm Marketing Director at Red Sift, and I'd like to welcome you all to this webinar this afternoon. I'm joined by our Product Director at Red Sift, Billy McDermott, and he will be starting the webinar just in a few seconds. But before we start, I would like to say that the webinar is being recorded and we will be happy to take any questions in the Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions for Billy, please feel free to put them in the Q&A section at the bottom of the webinar screen. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Billy. Thanks, Billy.
Thanks so much, Rachel. Good afternoon, folks. Thanks for joining again for today's webinar. It's great to see you all, and we've got another exciting and really fascinating topic to talk about. We're going to talk about how you can stop downtime that's caused by expiring certificates. But importantly as well, it's not just expiring certificates that cause problems within your estate. There are other certificate problems that can cause significant issues. So we're going to walk through a few different parts of that. We're going to talk about some of the common problems that can happen, including expiring certificates. We're going to talk about how you can remediate those and mitigate the risks that occur from certificates. And also, if you stay tuned right to the end, we've got a special gift for you for attending the webinar, just as a thank you for joining us. So today we're going to talk about three main topic areas. We're going to talk about, first of all, the fact that everyone has certificate problems. This isn't an issue that's isolated to small organizations. This isn't an issue that's isolated to that occurs in big estates, large organizations. Certificate problems happen to everyone. Okay, we're then going to talk about expiring certs and more. We're going to talk about the problems that actually breaks trust in PKI, the different issues that can actually occur. And then we're going to talk about the steps that you can actually take to mitigate the risks and mitigate these the risk of these problems that break trust within customers, within your environment. Just to start off, as I said, everyone has certificate problems. These are just some fairly recent examples of organizations that have had certificate problems. Shopify, Starlink. Starlink was one of the more high-profile ones recently. Everyone's got issues. It happens. It's a common problem. These are just 5 out of pretty much every single organization that exists that have had these types of problems. With Shopify, it was because of an expired root certificate that made its way into a staging environment. With Microsoft, it was an expiration of a CDN certificate that impacted software updates being installed by users. With Spotify, in fact, which involved Microsoft as well, it involved an expired certificate that disrupted the clock app Spotify integration. So people that played Spotify on the clock app on Windows couldn't do it. Starlink was a recent one, as I said. It was downtime due to a certificate affecting one of its internet services as well. And LinkedIn, again, fairly recently, the expiry of a certificate on a country subdomain impacted the accessibility and security of their services in that country. So, and these are just 5 of you'll be able to find more examples online. But this is just the stress. This isn't, certificate issues aren't just about pointing fingers and going, this is a problem, you need to fix it. This is isolated to you. This is, everyone experiences it. And actually, it's because it's really difficult to manage internet PKI. Okay, this is from Ivan Ristik's book, the chief scientist of Red Sift, and this is at a high level example of how the internet PKI flow actually works. It's really difficult. It's really complicated. But The goal of internet PKI, let's just go back a step for a second and figure that out, or talk about that. The goal of internet PKI, remember, is to enable secure communication amongst parties, between parties who have never met before. Okay, and that means that the goal really is about trust. Okay, and this is why it's so important that you do have to try and get it right. Because if you don't get it right, then it impacts trust, and I'll come on to that more in a second. Because, like in real life, actually, building trust between parties that don't know each other is really, really difficult. As a human being, if I meet someone, I don't immediately trust them. It's still brilliant I've managed to get my cats into a presentation this time. When you meet a cat for the first time, it's never going to trust you. The PKI process is designed around building trust, and it's specifically designed around the process that it wants to build confidence that in PKI, a certificate that's being issued issued on the internet has actually been issued, first of all, by the actual owner of the website, and then second of all, that a certificate has been issued by an authority that's able to issue certificates. Okay, and all of those steps, all of those processes in this previous slide are all about doing that, all about achieving those steps towards trust. But because those steps are so complicated, because there's so much involved in building trust, that complexity means there's multiple points of failure in the process. Okay, it could be that there's issues with certificate issuances and certificate validations. It could be that there's insufficient name coverage. Certificates aren't actually deployed after they've been issued. Sometimes it could be, is the certificate authority actually allowed to issue certificates by the organisation? It could be related to misconfigured certificate chains. Certificate chains are hugely important, but often ignored because browsers sometimes work around certificate chain problems. But at its core, a certificate chain issue means that the certificate has been issued correctly and has been installed, but you can't trust the certificate because the path between the leaf and the root that tells you the cert, that should tell you that the cert has been issued by someone who can issue certs, has actually been broken. You then get problems in the certificate lifecycle itself, expiring certificates, and also an ever-increasing number of certificates because of rule changes. Google is just proposing to reduce the lifespan of certificates to 90 days. That quadruples the number of certificates that are actually being issued. So in the lifecycle, you've got more certificates being issued potentially than ever before. That leads on to causing too much noise. Okay, too much noise, too many certificates means it's pretty impossible to monitor every single certificate that is being issued manually. You just simply can't keep a track of it. And we work with prospects that come to us and say, I'm trying to do this manually. I'm trying to, track all the certificates being issued by my certificate authorities. I'm trying to manage all the certificates that are coming out of that my team are issuing, but I don't know what's going on. There's just far too much actually happening. And sometimes customers think to themselves, well, I know where all the certificates are being issued, but then we're able to help them understand that certificates are being issued from multiple different places, that certificates aren't just being issued by their certificate authority that they think they're using, but certificates are being issued by their cloud providers. Certificates are being issued from third parties that whose services that they actually depend on. And then another problem, and by the way, this list is by no means comprehensive. These are just some of the issues and some of the things that break trust in PKI. Revocations don't work. So when you actually try and revoke a certificate, sometimes it just doesn't doesn't actually happen. You know, the certificate itself will still be out there in the wild when you actually think you've revoked it. So multiple different things that can actually occur, multiple things that are simply impossible to track manually. But these are issues that do break trust and therefore have got significant issues. This is a typical error message that a browser is going to throw when your certificate is deemed to be invalid. You can see the example here that I've given is about the date itself being invalid. It's an expired certificate that's been deployed, but this message will come up for any one you know, any one of these reasons why trust would actually be broken, and it can lead to compliance issues, fines, a lack of trust with users that don't actually understand the problem. You know, ultimately, a lot of certificate issues when trust is broken, it doesn't necessarily mean it's malicious. It's just as a result of that really complicated PKI process that I was talking about earlier on. But a user won't understand that. All that a user sees is this big warning message that the browsers, that Safari or Chrome or Opera or Firefox is actually presenting. So as far as they're concerned, this could be a big, significant red flag and can really impact trust, not only with the users that potentially don't understand the problem, but also with senior people within your organization, within the board, or with operations directors who simply don't understand what is actually happening. And then it can open up to other PKI attacks. It can increase the likelihood of man-in-the-middle attacks happening. It can lead to SSL stripping attacks. It can lead to certificates being issued by bad and malicious actors. It can lead to phishing attempts and data tampering. So whilst the vast majority of certificate issues can be relatively minor, they are impacting trust more than causing significant attacks. They do open you up. Open you up, and certificates do become a vector that bad actors are looking at. But actually, it's relatively straightforward and relatively quick to mitigate the risks that come with certificates. Quick wins actually can be made. It's fairly easy to start putting in place automated processes that mitigate the risks that come with certificates. And there are achievable wins in minutes that can actually take place. And I'm going to give you a demonstration of what that looks like in a second. But there's 5 key things that you can do really quickly in minutes to mitigate the risk. First of all, what you can do is you can automatically, using the Sift tooling, you can build an inventory of all public facing certificates, and you can do that you know, a one-off build of your inventory to begin with in minutes, but then importantly, you can then continuously and automatically build an inventory of your certificates. I mentioned that visibility piece. I mentioned the fact that a lot of people don't know where all of their certificates actually are. And with Sift, you can actually connect your cloud providers, you can connect your certificate authorities, and you can also monitor the third-party services that you depend on to improve visibility. So you can see all of the certificates that belong or that are in those environments, all of those certificates that are installed on third-party services that you can never ever see through manual methods, or you don't even know exist actually in the first place. Expiring certificates are a big problem. It happens a lot. It's hard to keep a track of, again, all of the expiration dates of certificates manually. Even if you only use one certificate authority, even if you're a lucky organization that doesn't depend on third-party services, CAs just simply don't provide the right level of tooling to track expiring certificates that, importantly, are still deployed in your estate. You've got too much to do. You don't necessarily want to know about certificates that are due to expire that aren't deployed. With Redshift, you can see the certificates that are due to expire, and importantly, it takes me nicely onto my next point. You can understand exactly where in the estate the certificate is deployed and what services it's actually impacting. You can see the installed location of every single certificate. And then another important thing to do that can happen very, very quickly as well, within minutes of setting up Redshift, is that you can monitor the issuance of certificates and report on the hosts and the certificate authorities that are in use. With Redshift, you can receive email notifications about new certificates as they're issued, so that you can monitor them, monitor the appropriateness of the issuance. You can make sure that they're being issued by a certificate authority that should be issuing them, and they're not potentially being issued by a bad actor as well. So I'm going to move into the demo, and I'm going to show you how that looks. As I said, this is built within minutes. By simply seeding Hardenise with your domain, you can build an inventory of your certificates. What you are seeing here is a list of, is a dashboard that shows all of the valid or active certificates within an estate. It shows you all of the network locations that these certificates can actually be found, and it gives you an overview of when the certificates are due to expire over the next 12 months, along with a summary of the certificate authorities, the validation types, and some other important statistics that are actually in use. At a glance, you can find all of the certificates, including important information about where in the estate the certificates are actually deployed, as well as other information such as that important certificate chain, that trust path that I mentioned earlier. With one click of a button, you can see all of the certificates that are due to expire within a particular defined time period that can be defined by you, but also certificates that have recently expired as well. And importantly, when it comes to expiring certificates, you don't just rely on a report that you need to access within the Redshift environment. You can configure email notifications that go to the people that care about certificates so that they can action them. And you can also send notifications into your SIEM. So if you are using ServiceNow, if you are using Salesforce, if you are using Jira, you can send notifications about expiring certificates into that system. You can receive email notifications about every single certificate that's actually been issued. But importantly, we don't just tell you about the certificates that have been issued. We actually tell you whether the certificate has been issued appropriately or not by monitoring important signals, such as whether the certificate has actually been found installed in your environment, whether it matches your CAA policy or not, if you're using that, and whether the issuer has been allowed or not by a predefined policy that you set within Hardenise. So if I go back to those risks, and if I talk about those issues again that break trust in PKI, by monitoring certificates that have been issued, by checking that certificate chains, those trust paths are actually correct, by checking and being able to see the third-party certificates that have been issued. You can see that by using Hardenise, we're giving you enough information that you can start to eliminate these problems. You can start to observe your certificates in such a way that even if these issues do actually happen, you will have visibility of them and you will be able to quickly resolve them. Revocation is another thing. So revocation, like I said, sometimes it doesn't actually work. With Hardenise, you have a revocation report built in, so you can see if your revocation has actually been successful or not. The secret sauce here with our certificate feature is our proprietary method of identifying certificates. We monitor certificate transparency logs in real time. Okay, when a new certificate is issued onto the public-facing internet, Hardenise will import it, and if the certificate belongs to you, we will add it into your account and we will notify you about it. We don't rely on cache data. We're not buying data from anywhere else. This is our proprietary method of finding certificates. So that's why you can absolutely have confidence that RedSift will help you to mitigate these issues. We find certificates as they are being issued. Okay, and there's no other platform that allows you to do that. As I mentioned earlier, this is up and running within minutes. All you need to do to get up and running is provide a list of seed domains, and Hardenise will discover your certificate inventory automatically. So, achievable wins in minutes. With Hardenise, you can mitigate the risks that I mentioned, and you can avoid breaking, you can avoid those issues that cause trust to be broken within your organization's PKI environment. If you're interested in finding out more, then please do get in touch. We'll be more than happy to help. We work with a really diverse range of organisations. We support governments around the world. We support large telecommunications companies around the world, and we support startups and mid-sized companies. So like I said, every organisation has got certificate problems, and we can help you to resolve those problems through our automated processes. Hardenise is part of the RedSift suite. It complements our on-domain, our on-DMARC, and our on-inbox products. And as I promise you, as you've stayed close to the end of the webinar, we can offer you a complimentary PDF copy of our Chief Scientist's book. It's called Bulletproof TLS and PKI. If you're interested in learning more about how the PKI environment works and you don't have a copy of the book, then please email marketing@redsift.io and we will send you a PDF copy. Paper copies are also available to buy. I can't send complimentary copies of those, unfortunately, to everyone, but if you'd like a PDF copy, then email that email address, marketing@redsift.io, and we will be delighted to help. So just to finish off for the next few minutes, I'm going to start taking some questions. So we've got a question in the chat. Can you help manage internal certificates as well? Justin, thanks for that question. It's a really good one. So at this moment, we look at public facing certificates, so those on the internet, but very soon we will be able to find all your internal certificates as well. So that's a feature that we are working on, and we'll soon be able to announce and let you know when that's available. So stay tuned, sign up to our mailing list, sign up, keep an eye on the RedSift website, and we'll be sure to inform you when that's available. Is there any other questions at the moment?
Okay, thanks, Billy. Thanks very much. That was really useful, as you say. If anybody does want the book, please email marketing@redsift.io. We'd be really happy to send that out to you as a PDF. And I think, unless we have any more questions.
I think I've just saw another.
Yeah, just waiting to see one.
Yes, yeah. See what's coming through. So
do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'm just going to take it. So someone's asking just on the point about certificates and the installed locations. People are asking, someone's asking about whether certificates, when they're installed in multiple different locations, does Hardenise tell you all the different network locations that they're actually installed in? That's a really good question, and thank you very much for that. And it's one of our, a real differentiator actually with us. So if I show you, if I switch over to our Explorer view, and I show you again just one of these example certificates. So actually, let's show that this demo certificate here, it's currently expired. If I wanted to remediate that and I wanted to find all the different locations that that certificate was installed in, then I can click on deployments and it shows me all of the hosts that the certificate has been deployed to, and it shows the network locations. So if you want to remedy that and fix it, we give you an up-to-date list so you can go and fix those different locations that the certificate has actually been found in. That will then update, and when the assessment runs, you can either manually run the assessment against the host or the network location, and we will then update that to show that that certificate is no longer installed. Actually, I've just remembered something else about that as well. I mentioned the cloud visibility aspect. Hardenise, we're just about to announce our new feature over the next week or two. It's an improvement to our cloud integrations feature. So currently we just import domains and DNS zones from cloud accounts. But we're now going to import anything that's got a host name or an IP address. So if there's any certificates, any public-facing certificates that are within your cloud account, such as this example here, which, if I remember rightly, is a GCP certificate, a Google Cloud Platform certificate, and we will import that into your Hardenise account. Okay, so it's not just about the certificates that as I mentioned, not just certificates that have got your name, that are matching a host that you're monitoring within your Hardenise account itself. We'll also import all the hosts, everything from your cloud accounts, and monitor those as well. So it increases visibility, and that combined with what Justin asked in the previous question, when we begin to monitor your private infrastructure and your own certificates, that will give you a completely holistic view of your certificate inventory.
Okay, great. Well, thanks everyone for joining. Really appreciated you spending the time with us this afternoon. We will be sending a recording out of the webinar. So if you wanted to forward it on to a colleague, or you wanted to watch any other of the parts of the demonstration back again, that will be coming in your inbox. So I just want to say thanks very much, Billy. Appreciate your time, and we will close the webinar now. Thanks everyone.